Welcome to our 8-6 writing linear equations lesson. Today we're going to talk about how to take points or lines that we see and write an equation based on the information that's given to us. In order to write a linear equation, you need to find the slope and you need to find the y-intercept. So in my example here, I have two given points. So like I said, the first thing we need to do is find our slope, and then once we find our slope, we can use that to find our y-intercept. So if my 2 points here are 2, 7 and negative 2, 1, first thing I'm going to do is find the slope of those lines. Remember, it's the change in y's. So I did 7 minus 1, so I subtract my y values, over my change in x's. Since 7 was first, I have to do 2 minus negative 2 is my denominator. That's 7 minus 1 is going to give me 6. 2 minus negative 2 is going to give me 4, and I simplify that to 3/2. Now that I know that my slope is 3/2, I can move on to my y-intercept. To find my y-intercept, I need to know my slope. That's why I have to find it first. And I have to use 1 point. I'm going to use my equation, which is, remember, y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to use, I have 3 of those variables, and I can use that information to find my missing y-intercept, which would be my b variable. So what I'm going to do for this, guys, is I'm going to take my slope. I'm going to plug that in for my m, so that's why I have my 3/2 in there. I picked the point 2, 7 because I like working with positive numbers, so I pick 1 point that gives me an x and a y value. So I can plug the x value 2 into the x in my equation. Remember, it's y equals mx plus b, so the 2 went in for the x, the 7 goes in for the y equals. Now that I have 7 equals 3/2 2 plus b, I now have an equation that I can solve. So my next step is then to multiply 3/2 times 2. The 2's cross off, so that leaves me with 3. So I have 7 equals 3 plus b. Now I solve this by subtracting 3 to both sides. 7 minus 3 is 4, and I'm left with b on the right side. So now that I know that b is 4, or my y-intercept is 4, or is the point 0, 4. Now that I know my slope and I know my y-intercept, I can now write my equation plugging in slope for m and y-intercept for b. That is going to give me y equals 3/2 x plus 4. Okay, let's move on to some examples. Here in our guided practice, I would like you to pause and do A, and then play the video and see how I did A, just to make sure that you have it correct before you move on to B. So go ahead and pause your video now. Okay, now that you have done the problem, let's see if you got A right. So in this example, I gave you the slope and the y-intercept, so you don't have to solve anything. You're just going to write y equals the slope, which is 2. So that's going to be 2x. Oh, that's a bad looking 2. And then the y-intercept is negative 7. So that's going to be minus 7. Or if you wanted, you could write that as plus a negative 7. So I could write y equals 2x plus negative 7. Either way is fine. Okay? All right, now that we have gone over A and we can see that our answer is that, I would like you to try B. So for B, go ahead and pause and try. The 2 points that are highlighted are 0, 1 and 1, 4. But you can see the line. So go ahead and work on B, pause the video, and then play it when you're done. Okay, now that you've tried it, I can easily find the slope of this line because I can just count my vertical change over my horizontal change. This line goes up 1, 2, 3 spots. That gives a slope of 3, and it moves 1 to the right. So that's 3 over 1, which is equal to 3. So I know the slope of this line is now equal to 3. Okay, the y-intercept is right here where it crosses the y-axis. That is 0.01. So I know the y-intercept is 1. So I can write my equation as y equals 3x, my slope, times x. And then I add my y-intercept, which is 1. So that'd be plus 1. So y equals 3x plus 1. Okay, now go ahead and try C. C is going to be like the example I have up above if you need to look at that. Okay, now that you're done with C, why don't you check your answer? So for C, the first thing I have to do is find my slope. That is 8 minus 5. Remember, I do my change in y's over my change in x's. So that's going to be 8 minus 5 over 4 minus 2. When I do my work, 8 minus 5 is going to be 3. And in the denominator, I'm going to have 4 minus 2, which is going to be 2. So 3/2 is my slope. Now I have to find my y-intercept. I get to pick a point. It doesn't matter which point you choose. I'm just going to pick 2, 5. So that's going to be, 5, my y value, equals 3/2 my slope. I'm going to multiply that by the x value in the problem, which is 2. And then plus b. And that's what I'm solving for in this equation. So now to solve it, I'm going to first multiply 3/2 times 2. The 2's will cross off. That is going to give me 5 equals 3 plus b. And now that's a one-step equation. I'm adding, so the inverse operation of adding is to subtract. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. And after I've subtracted 3 from both sides, I end up with 2 equals b. Now that I have my y-intercept and I have my slope, I can write my final equation. And my final equation is going to be y equals my slope, which is 3/2. So y equals my slope, 3/2, x, plus my y-intercept, which is 2. And now I have my equation. Okay. If you need to go back and watch anything again, go ahead. Otherwise, work on your independent practice. Have a wonderful rest of your day.